Be a good little fella now and open the door.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Welcome back to the 28 Days of Christmas. Today we're up on day 2 of our marathon, The Rankin Strikes Back. And we're continuing today by 4 specials today. We got Twas the Night Before Christmas, The Year Without a Santa Claus, Frosty's Winter Wonderland, and Rudolph's Shiny New Year. For those of you who couldn't hear that truck go by, the last one was Rudolph's Shiny New Year. I think this came at a perfect time, because today where I lived, it snowed, but not really much. Today let's first talk about Twas the Night Before Christmas. I've heard about the poem before, and I thought that the poem was good, but I think that Animaniacs did it more hilariously than ever. But of course, the only way that, at least to my understanding, that you can see Twas the Night Before Christmas is on this DVD set of Frosty's Winter Wonderland, which also includes the special. But it's sort of a little bit like The Raven, with Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, and Boris Karloff, where they sort of take the poem and add an additional story to it. Like, The Raven was about just a bunch of magicians going around and having a war with each other. I mean, like that big grand finale between Karloff and Vincent Price, that was really amazing. It's sort of like this, except what happened was there's like this little smart aleck kid mouse that writes this letter saying that Santa is like real terrible. That's basically insulting Santa, and he makes it so that the whole town doesn't, and he sets it so that the town doesn't get Christmas at all, which upsets a lot of the citizens in the town because they're really looking forward to Santa Claus. And the father wanted to set up this huge clock with a voice box in it that'll get Santa's attention. However, the smart mouse tries to get into a clock and he winds up accidentally breaking the thing, which leads to him actually going up on Christmas Eve and fixing the entire clock itself. But overall, it's an interesting special, though not really much of I could say about this. I mean, Joe Gray sings and narrates Twas the Night Before Christmas in this, but for a first-time view, it wasn't that bad of a holiday special. Next, we've got The Year Without a Santa Claus. Now, this one I remember a lot about. The Year Without a Santa Claus, the most perfect holiday special there is. You all know about the Miser Brothers. You all know you guys know everything, just about everything about the Miser Brothers. They have some of the most unforgettable, like, sequences. Mr. 10 Below and Mr. 101 themselves and Mother Nature. And the fact is that Mickey Rooney returns to play Santa Claus in this, and in the story, Santa Claus is sick, and he decides to have a vacation off. And 2 of the elves go to a small town to see about the celebration of Christmas or not, whether the kids believe in Santa Claus or not. Some of them don't believe in them, while another kid actually has like second thoughts on like believing of Santa Claus. Like I said, the musical numbers in this are really good. They're real inventive and ingenious, and just Mickey Rooney as the character of Santa Claus is really good. And besides that, the person who sings and narrates is Shirley Booth, another person I never heard of before. Next, I jump back to this disc because I'm going in chronological order here, and somehow this decided I wanted to go backwards with its service. So we're getting to the main one, Frosty's Winter Wonderland. This is supposedly the official sequel to the original Frosty the Snowman. It's not Frosty Returns if you're more stuck to the Christmas Classic series from Family Home Entertainment, or at least the new DVD from, or at least the 2004 DVD set, which includes both Frosty the Snowman and Frosty Returns. Difference is, Frosty Returns is a 1994 special, different animation company from Rankin, to be more precise. Anyways, Frosty's Winter Wonderland. Andy Griffith sings and narrates in this special about Frosty's return to the small town, but the strange thing is that the town is completely different from the original version. But somehow it's like the kids. Basically, I mean, there's new kids, of course. Essentially, the story is that the town starts to have snow, and Frosty decides to return back to the town to have fun with the kids. They start to have fun, but of course they wind up meeting the antagonist of the special, who quickly reforms himself, known as Jack Frost, who is the King of Snow. And he tries to steal, and he tries all he can to steal Frosty's hat, because obviously he knows about the tale of the snowman. In the long run, he really has nothing else to do in the North Pole. He just sits there in his place doing nothing. The kids decide to build him a snow wife, called Crystal. And it really works out. This is the special, at least to my acknowledgement, that debuts the song Winter Wonderland, which actually is a real good song. Different break. I mean, Twas the Night Before Christmas was a poem. Frosty's Winter Wonderland has the song Winter Wonderland in it. But, of course, the songs vary on their timeless classics. Rudolph and Frosty and Santa Claus is Coming to Town have at least a lot of good songs in there. Most simplistic for kids. I mean, Blue Eyes with the song Have a Holly Jolly Christmas. That's a good one that can actually be found on albums if you look real hard enough. But basically, Jack Frost steals Frosty's hat, but in the long run, he can come back to life without the hat. Made because Crystal now has the power to bring Frosty to life with a little with a little flower that she picked in the snow and put basically on his chest, which brings him back to life. And of course, both the couple get married by a snow preacher, and of course they head back to the North Pole, where in their future they see kids, where they wind up envisioning that they'll have little kids, they'll have a family to run to, and then of course they'll come back when they do, whenever it snows. I really like this special, and of course, as usual, I'll give you the ratings later on. Next, to jump back to Year Without a Santa Claus with the next special, Rudolph Shiny New Year. Some of you are probably thinking, why Rudolph Shiny New Year? That doesn't count as like a holiday, that doesn't count as a Christmas special. Try getting that past the qualifications for ABC Family's 25 Days at Christmas Marathon. Because, for whatever reason, they decide to air Rudolph Shiny New Year every year on the 25 Days at Christmas. At least when they're not airing a bad TV edit of a great holiday movie alike. I don't know, like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. But we'll get to that when we get to that. In the story of Rudolph's Shiny New Year, Rudolph winds up going to Father Time to run a task for him, where the baby New Year has unfortunately ran away because the baby's got big ears, and no matter how many places he goes, he constantly gets ridiculed for his ears. Like, everyone just laughs at him. They visit certain, they make certain references to time periods. Like, there's one part where they're inside, I forget when, but it's sort of like the era when fairy tales were being invented. And there's a couple with, there's one where the baby New Year winds up going with inside the cabin of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And what happens is that they decide to actually have him the little bear decides to have him as a friend. Unfortunately, when he takes his hat off, they unfortunately laugh. Or, there's, one part where they land in 1776, the year that the Declaration of Independence was signed. Benjamin Franklin, or the person who was the Father New Year for 1776, tells him to take his hat off, because respect for the U.S., man. At least for the newfound country. Nah, I'm not going to ask that stupid question. Essentially, he winds up constantly, there's 2 times in the film where the baby New Year winds up getting caught by this eagle named Era, played, at least from what I believe, is Frank Gorshin, who was the Riddler in the campy Batman series from the 60s, which, if you're lucky enough, you can get the movie on DVD, or you can get the whole entire series on DVD and Blu-ray. And thank the Lord, it's finally out on Blu-ray and DVD for the first time. It was an actual real interesting show. But back to the subject at hand. Rudolph winds up showing... Rudolph obviously goes to the baby New Year and tells him that he almost felt the same way, which, for the production at the time, I believe it was 1975 when this came out. It's if they actually went out with this, I could imagine what was it? They could have easily take clips from the original Rudolph special, but they decided to entirely reanimate some new sequences in Rudolph's Shiny New Year. But again, it's not qualified to be a Christmas special, though it is the thought that counts. Especially since the fact that they decided just to squeeze this, as well as another special, which I'll get into tomorrow, into one entire DVD. But at least that's 90s DVD marketing for you. Who knows, could have been 2002 or something. But overall, they obviously wind up defeating Frank Gorshin's character in the film. And they get the New Year baby to its place where they can finally go on to their new year, which I can only assume is 1976. Alright, so final ratings for the second day for the Rankin Bass Strikes Back for all 4 specials this time around. Twas the Night Before Christmas, first time I saw it, and it was pretty much interesting. So, ultimately, 8 out of 10. It's definitely a good one. The Year Without a Santa Claus, a full, near 100%, 9 out of 10. It's really one of the best, though some Rankin Bass fans, though some anti-Rankin Bass people may not be interested in this, and I'm fine with that. It's just, I just forgot to talk about this last year. Frosty's Winter Wonderland. after some thought and consideration, because I actually did see this as a kid, I give it an 8 out of 10. Rudolph Shiny New Year, though not a Christmas special, but it, again, as I stated earlier, it is the thought that counts. Rudolph Shiny New Year gets ultimately a 7 out of 10. Well, we're near the end of November, which means as soon as it hits November 30th, we're going to conclude the Rankin Bass Strikes Back, and I'll review to you tomorrow the brand new marathon. Because again, I don't have one certain marathon. I have 6 of them. Nearly said 5 for a moment there, but again, it's like consideration to try to figure out how the length of these marathons go. But with that said, I'm the Ferbguy, and stay tuned tomorrow for the brand new episode of the Ferbguy's 28 Days of Christmas 2, The Saga's Electric Boogaloo.